All right, so this is my first ever screencast. I've never done anything like this before. We'll see how it goes. All right, first of all, I'll get rid of this pane. So I had someone message me and say they wanted to get started with Vue. They're interested, but they didn't know where to start. They asked if I had any publicly available code, and I don't. All the Vue work I've done so far has been for clients. So I figured I might as well do a screencast, my first one, and build just a simple Vue.js powered shopping cart, just with static data and everything. But this way I could give my take on Vue and why I enjoy using it so much. A couple other tools I'll be using would be barebones.io. And if you're not familiar with it, it's kind of like convention over configuration based build tool. Gulp is really great and powerful, but it ends up where your config files are usually pretty long winded. Whereas with Brunch, you just kind of follow their conventions and you get a really nice setup out of the box. So first thing we're going to do is start a new project, and I wonder if I can just do this. Solid inline. So with Brunch, it comes with a bunch of different skeletons that you can use. I'm using the ES6 skeleton, but there's a whole bunch. There's React-based, there's TypeScript, there's Angular, there's all sorts of them. Even more listed on GitHub. But I'm just using the ES6 model, and I just switched to ES6. I've been using CoffeeScript for a number of years. I still enjoy CoffeeScript, but there's just so many people using ES6. It's kind of hard to not use it or keep not using it, especially because I build a lot of software for other people and other dev teams inherit what I'm working on. So I feel kind of responsible for using tools that they're going to be familiar with. So yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty typical NPM project. There's just a ton of dependencies. Let's see if that worked. Cool. Okay. So by default, you have an app folder and you have a package.json and a Brunch config. So if we look at the Brunch file, you'll see that it's just a couple of simple objects and that's exported. You can use join to combine different files from different directories, and it'll combine them into one file for you. Same with style sheets. It'll search for any style sheets in any directory and combine it to one root style sheet. And then this one also, since we used the preset, it's going to install the Babel ES 2015 plugin for us. So pretty simple. If we look at package.json, you'll notice that installed an auto reload plugin, Babel, CSS clean, JavaScript, Brunch, Uglify.js. So it looks like it does some cleaning and uglifying for us out of the box, and also reloading. It also gives us a couple of scripts out of the box as well. So if I make a new window and cd into Vue, sites, Vue, shopping cart, and npmi just to make sure we got it all. Looks like we did. And then we can use npm start. It spins up a little dev server for us at 3333. And if you're to inspect this, actually, you'll see that some JavaScript is running here. So if we look in the head, it's actually pulling in this stuff. And I believe it sets up a WebSocket. So that way it'll auto reload for us out of the box, which is pretty okay. Another tool I'm going to be using is tachyons. If you're not familiar with functional CSS, Paul and I have a number of shows discussing this. And yeah, I like it. I enjoy it. I dig tachyons. I've used base CSS, not Basecamp. I've used base CSS quite a bit as well, and it's pretty good. It's a little bit lighter, I think, than tachyons is. So we're just going to use tachyons. So we're going to go ahead and install that. While that's installed, we're going to go to the Vue site. 1026. We can just go ahead and do that. Okay, so we're going to go back to the docs here, and we're going to go to using NPM and JS modules. So Brunch has support for NPM out of the box, which is pretty cool. If you look at this NPM object, you can define styles or JavaScripts as well. And then if you wanted, for example, if you wanted to say make something available globally, you could do that with JavaScript. We're not going to do that. We're going to use this to pull in. Since we're not using Webpack and we're not able to require in our modules, we're going to use this npm object to pull those in. So if I open this up and then I check out branch config, come down here, we'll just go ahead and, wow, excuse my typing skills. npm and then styles and then tachyons, I believe. So that would be the name of the folder in the node modules directory. And then it looks like that takes an array, and we're going to want to go to css/tachyons.css. So if we actually look in the node modules directory and look at the bottom, see we're grabbing tachyons here that matches up, and then we're grabbing CSS /tachyons. And so I could grab the minified version. Don't need to because Brunch is gonna minify that for us, so not too worried about it. So yeah, tachyons. Did I spell everything correctly? I think I did. Cool. So we're gonna come back over here and I'm gonna close that. That's not the one we want. I'm gonna open this back up. Okay, so anything inside of the app folder gets compiled into public. So you see that initialize.js is here, and then we have app.js is here, and then we have app.css as well. And then anything inside of the assets folder is getting copied straight over with no processing. So you could put your images in here if you wanted to. You could put them outside, and there's probably some Brunch plugins for minification, not minification, optimization and stuff like that. But we don't need that currently. So again, if you look at the Brunch config, you'll notice that join to, we're making a vendor file out of anything that's not inside of the app folder. So you could make a vendors folder and drop your vendor scripts in there, but we're not going to need that. Likewise, this is making app.js out of any JavaScript. So it'll recursively search your directories and then combine those into one via initialize.js, which would be the entry point. So yeah, we can go ahead and get rid of those. What? Oh. Yes. Modify, delete. Yes. Cool. So we have app CSS and app.js. Perfect. So again, we're going to modify stuff in app and not in public. So here, I'm just going to go ahead and make this h1 and then see if we got tachyons working. Doesn't look like we have it yet. I wonder if I spelled something wrong. Okay, so we don't need this. Okay, so F1. Yeah, so tachyons is not working. So I did something wrong there. All right, so I know that F6 should make this really small. So that'll be our litmus test. So we go back into branch config, npm styles, tachyons, css/tachyons. So I'm going to double check dist/leafless tachyons. All right, so tachyons, tachyons, npm styles, tachyons. I shouldn't have to restart this, but we'll see what happens. Okay, I think I know what's going on here. I'm gonna open this up and body, background. Wow. Convention over configuration, am I right? All right, so public. All right. So it looks like that is compiling. And oh, yeah, that would be why. All right, see how that picked that up automatically? Yeah, if I would just link to the thing like a smart person. Here we go. Oh, index HTML. All right. So if you're wondering about that little search thing I just did, I use a plugin called FCF. Wow. My typing skills, guys. It's really cool. I tweet about it once a month, just saying how cool it is, how fast it is. It's pretty fast. It has a Vim plugin, and I use it for finding and searching and all that stuff. Cool. So we can get rid of that. Tachyons is in there. We made sure to install Vue. I can double check package. Did we install Vue? I did not install Vue, so let's do that. npm I. All right. And then we're going to double check package. There it is. Cool. So app initialize, we can delete this, and then we're going to do import and we're going to double check by just logging that out. That should log a function. Looks like we got a problem. Cannot process. There, cannot find module view. Okay, I swear that we just installed that, right? Just a sanity check here. I did not. I didn't do that. I'm gonna pause this while I figure that out. Got it figured out. So I jumped into quickly to changing the config without making sure I knew what I was doing, just because I'm trying to hurry through this a little bit. But basically what happened was I removed the vendor folder vendor directory, but I didn't update the regex for the app JS, so it wasn't getting compiled right. So once I figured that out, I simplified it to this, and as you can see, if I flip back to the initialize.js file, I'm having it log out initialize app and then the view function. As you can see, initialize app and there's the function. So it is working, and tachyons is getting pulled in because that's small h6 now. So let's go ahead and we don't want to edit that one. We want to edit the one inside of app. We can just go ahead and delete that. It's gone. Cool. So let's get into this. Close a new view, and that takes an object, and we want to bind that to the app div that's already in there. So as you can see, I'm using Vue DevTools as well, which is pretty great. There's a root instance of Vue, and it has no reactive state. So if we wanted to change that, we could do data, and we might do, say, like has items true. Ah. Data function should return an object. Oh yes, this is not CoffeeScript. Okay, so the root instance has items true. You can inspect the DOM. It'll take you to that item, which is pretty cool. And you can also send it to the console. So if you look at the console, root is now available as VM. So that way you can do some debugging there if you needed to. Yeah, it's a pretty nifty little tool. So we can remove that. All right, so let's say you did a request, or on Ready, you send off a request to an API for products, and you want to store them here. So we could do something like this. Nope, something like that, and nope, that's an array. So do this, and we might have a title, not a total title, product 1, and that might have a price of $100, and just paste that. All right, so we'll have 3 products, and then as you can see, compiler is complaining about having an empty object key there, and so we're just going to fill that in with products. And we'll check this out, and we have our products array with all of our data in here. Pretty cool. Now, I'm trying to figure out, should I? Yeah, I can go ahead and do this. So let's just say that inside of here we'll have a folder called components, and then a product list.js component. And then we'll just do module.export. Actually, yeah. We'll just do this. And then the template. Good grief. Like so. And then we'll just say I am the product list for now. Okay. So we'll flip back here. And so Vue has a couple of different ways to register objects. Let's go ahead and check out the docs. We'll be using the components. So we're gonna be locally, we'll be locally registering these components instead of registering them globally like this. So if you were to do that, then if you were sharing the same instance of Vue, then all of your components would be available globally, and you wouldn't have to register them. What we're going to be doing is, since we're going to be pulling components in by importing them, the Vue object can have a components object, which would basically just evaluate to whatever component you're pulling in. So we have a product list, so we're going to go import. Wow. Can't type, guys. From /components/product list. I believe that should work. Yeah. I like to have lines here, so we'll do components. And we'll do this, and then we'll do. So you can do it. There's two ways of doing this. You can pass a string, or you can pass a camel case. I usually do camel case. I would do product list, and then that would evaluate to the product list component that I pulled in. Okay, so basically what that means is when we're looking inside of the L of this, it's going to look for component with a with a tag of product-list. Okay. So we'll do that, and then we're going to open up, close that, open up the HTML, and we're going to go product list, like so. I suppose I can put that in the same line. I'm used to when I pass props in, you could have a prop like this, like so, and I usually just format it like this. Otherwise, the prop list can get kind of long sometimes, and it's easy to read. But I guess this will be short enough. So come back over here, make this a little bit wider. List, and we'll open this up here. Oh, first of all, we should look at the template, and you can see that I am the product list was rendered out. Okay, so we're gonna come back over here, gonna make this. I'm gonna do products equal products. Now that's not gonna work. So there's a thing to know about passing props in a Vue is that if you just have products like this, it's literally going to pass in the string products, and we don't want that. We want it to pass in the array, right? So by adding a colon there, it makes it a dynamic value. So another gotcha is value. If you want to actually pass in a Boolean, true or false, then you would want to put the colon there. So now you can see in the Vue DevTools, there's a product list component here. It's a fragment because it's not encased in a DOM element, and there's nothing in here because I didn't register the prop. So we come over here, props. There's a few different ways to define your props here. I always do the most explicit way because I think being explicit is the best option. I'm gonna pause for one more second. Let's find the props here. Passing data with props. So you can see you can just pass in straight array. That's not really descriptive. I prefer a more expanded syntax. Let's see if I can find it in the docs here. That's where it's talking about the literal versus dynamic props. Prop validation, here you go. So you can pass it an object, key being camel case version of the prop name, and you can require things, set a type. You can also make values default, which is pretty awesome, I think. So that's what I like to do. I think explicit is better. If someone else is reading this code, they can come in here and see exactly what I meant instead of just seeing an array of something that might be, they can guess, but it's not exact. This is just better all around. So we're gonna products, and that would be not CoffeeScript. This is a type of array, and we're gonna say required true. We're going to require that. So if you create a product list component, or use it rather, and don't pass in the products array, you will get a lovely warning in here. I can demonstrate that really quickly. Just delete that, save. Missing required products found in component product list. That's pretty handy. As you can see, we're back. Cool. So now if we look in the Vue DevTools, you should see that products came in from a root and were passed into the product list. And these are, they're getting passed through, which is pretty okay. All right, let's see here. Just gonna make a div here. We'll make a UL because it's a list. And we'll make a list item, and we'll do product.title like that. And here we're going to do v-4 equals product in products. Now I see we got product 1, product 2, product 3, and then product.price. In cents. Okay, so Vue has the concept of filters, which are actually pretty okay. A lot of the default filters that come with Vue are going to go away in favor of computed properties, which you might see later on. But for now, we'll use this one because there is a currency filter. So you can define your own and use those, but it's not going to ship with them by default. So anyway, what you're going to do, pass through a pipe. Pretty familiar paradigm there. And then we'll check. And $10,000, pretty expensive stuff. Okay. So we have our product listing. And let's see here. You might want to have a button. And we'll call add to cart. Okay. And then up here we'll have a methods object. And we'll call add to cart. Okay. And we're going to do this dot dispatch. Yeah, we'll just do this. And product. Whoop. So this would also take an event and product, and then at click. So V has another directive called v-on, which is just assigning for assigning event listeners. We're going to use a shorthand on. So add on.click equals add to cart, and then we're going to pass in. So each listener gets a special event argument, and then you don't have to pass it in, but I always like to, for some reason, add to cart. So we're going to console.log something there. All right. So you see a button. Something's going on here. Methods, template, at click, add to cart. Methods, add to cart, takes an event and a product. Oh yeah, so product isn't a thing. Actually, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, because we're inside of here, so the product would be. So I wonder why you. Button type button. V-on, shorthand, V on. Oh, yeah. It's a colon. Yes. Wow. Did I save it? Oh, yeah. You know what? I don't even think it's... Oh, my goodness. I'm falling apart today. At click. There we go. And now... There we go. That was ridiculous. So we'll put this back up, and then inside of here we're just going to log out the product so you can see it spits out an object, the product that was clicked on, and then if you want to see, it's just a traditional JavaScript event. There you go. Cool. So we got event and price. All right, so I don't remember where that's coming from. Product list line 24. I pasted that down there somewhere. Okay, anyway. All right, so I'm a huge fan of using events. Vue version 1 does ship with a way to make two-way binding happen. I don't like that. I like using events. So Vue ships with an event system with broadcast and dispatch being up, broadcast being down. With Vue version 2, dispatch and broadcast are going away, and there's just going to be an emit option, and emits it globally. So dispatch and broadcast are great, but the thing is that when you dispatch, it dispatches up through the ancestors, and when you broadcast, it broadcasts down through the children, and it doesn't hit any tangential stuff. So one thing that I end up doing is having to create event watchers and parent components strictly for bouncing messages back down the chain. And with Vue version 2, that goes away. But we're using version 1, so I'm going to use dispatch here. And to show you how you might register for something like that, you can go and make an events object. And the key would be add to cart, like so. And the value is a function. And that would be any arguments that you send. So as you see, we're sending product in here, and we'll go ahead and console. I wonder if I have a snippet. Maybe I don't. Console log product. Okay. So you can see that's getting, the product is getting logged out via a message. That's pretty cool. Pretty simple, right? Cart. Make a cart object. That's not where it wants to go. We need to put it here. Otherwise we would have had problems. All right. So we can go up here. Good grief. Get rid of that. All right. So go back to Vue Dev Tools. Root has a cart. Okay. So add a cart. We're going to do this dot cart dot push product. Okay, so we look in here, look at the cart. What's going on here? Well, good grief. Interesting. So product is coming in properly. Oh, I see. Yeah, it just wasn't updating. Okay. All right. So as you can see, we got a cart going. We might want to make another component for this. So we'll go over here. Cart.js. Open that up. And we'll just set a template. And we might just do another UL. Whoop. And we'll close that. And we'll do product.title here. Okay, and then here we'll do another v4, v-4 is equal to product in cart. No, we'll do product and products. Keep it more consistent, and then we'll up here we'll take a prop of products. What? I did not do that. I haven't figured out my snippet system yet. So anyway, we'll take a products, type is an array. And we're going to require that to be true. No, we're not going to require it. We're going to set, yeah, we're going to require it. No, we'll just do default because we haven't used that yet. So default needs to return a function, or it needs to be enclosed in a function, and we'll return an empty array. Okay, so that compiled. It's not going to be in here yet because we haven't added it to the DOM. So let's just do this. cart. New products equal cart. We want to make sure that's a dynamic prop and pass that in. And we'll get an error in here saying you didn't register the thing, unknown element cart. So that means in initialize, we're going to need to cart cart from like so. Okay, so that should go away. We're also getting something weird going on. Import cart from cart. Cart.js, product list, components, cart. Cart is an empty array. Okay. Save that maybe. Wonder what's going on here. Aha, I see what it is. There we go. Alright, so it's complaining that, hey, you've already added this thing to the cart. What's going on? So Vue, by default, handles knowing what to update and what not up to date. It handles knowing what to update and what to not update by the data that's in the objects. So you can do track by index if you're going to have duplicates. It'll kind of like dynamically behind the scenes create a unique index for that and track it so you can have duplicates. Or if you had a duplicate or if you had a unique like product ID, you could track by that as well. So we need to go back to the cart component. Is that, yeah, that's down here. And then in this v4 list, we'll just paste that in there. So now you can see we have multiples. So far we haven't even used tachyons yet. All right, so anyhow, we might have a data object. And that's going to return an object, and we might have a total. Actually, no, that wouldn't be. That'd be a computed property. This is perfect. So this is just going to be. We'll probably need something eventually, but we'll do this. So Vue has another thing called computed, and whenever data changes, these are reevaluated. So a total price or price calculation is the perfect perfect use case for this. So in here, we'll just do a paragraph tag. And we'll go in here. We'll set total price, and then that would be a function. Okay. And then so, excuse me. 1 second, I'll be right back. So where we left off, we were making a computed property for the total price. So we'll do const total. There's a much more functional, better way to do this, but this is what we're going to roll with for now. We're going to go this dot products dot for each function product. We'll do product. We'll do total plus equal product dot price. Yeah, and I just realized that you can't return anything unless it's an actual function, so yeah. Total is read-only, of course it is. So we'll do, whoa. What is happening? Seem to be stuck in paste mode or something. Just gonna close that pane and reopen it. Kind of sucks. Whatever. Sites and Vue shopping cart. All right, so we are on carts.js. All right, so we're changing this to be a variable that's not read-only. Cart total price is undefined because we didn't return anything. Return total, and then want to pass that through currency. $0, 10,000, 20, 30, 40. All right. Cool. So we got total, our expensive products, add to cart. Okay. What else do we might want to do? We might want to remove a product from the cart. So whoop. So we might do another, we'll go like this. It's easier to read. And we'll just type a button. Let's see if I slip it. Nope. Okay, so before I believe I did type equals button, and what that does is when you click on it, it doesn't try to submit a form. You could also do, since we're going to use another click handler, you could do a click. This is where I was getting the dot from before. Click.prevent. Yeah, so that prevents default essentially. So that way it prevents the default action of a button, which would be to submit a form. So we're going to use that here, and then we might do something like remove. Yeah, we'll just call it remove and do something like that. Okay, so again, we're going to want to send through the product to remove. Okay, and now we need to make a methods object. And method here is called remove, and that takes an event and a product. Okay, and we're going to this dot dispatch remove. It's got to be a string. Remove product from cart. Yeah, it's long, but whatever. And then we're going to pass through that as an argument. What's it complaining about? Oh, yes. This is not CoffeeScript. Cool. Okay, so now we need to change our base app again. So we need to make another event called move from cart. We'll simplify the other one. I just notice I'm being consistent here, so we'll fix that. Remove from cart. We'll hop over here. Okay, so now we're back on the same page. Okay, so this dot cart dot, and actually, so we don't have to do a splice or anything like that. Vue comes with a convenience method, array dot remove. And so it takes the array, or it acts on an array, and it takes the reference to the item. And again, it's similar to doing array.splice, index of item, and then 1, which would remove that. So we're going to do this dot cart remove. Whoop. Good grief. Stop. Card.remove product. Okay, so we're dispatching, removing the product. Let's see what happens here. I didn't need to do that because it was already refreshed. All right, so as you can see, we're not manipulating the DOM at all. We're not touching anything by hand. The only thing we're doing is modifying this products array and modifying the cart array. And if we look up index.html again, you can see that we have our cart component that takes an array, and we have our product list component that takes an array. And each one of the components doesn't modify internal state at all. It doesn't keep track of internal state whatsoever. One second. All right, I'm back. So what I was saying was 2 components, they take an array. The actual components themselves don't modify. They don't keep track of any internal state, so there's not 2 copies floating around. You always, it's kind of along the vein of Redux or Vuex or something like that, where you just have 1 copy of the data, and all of the changes are flowing through that 1 copy, and so that way any component that's hooking into that data will always be up to date no matter what. So a recent example would be, let's say Oliver Cabell. I think that was the first site I used Vue on, but it was a Shopify site, and Shopify gives you an API to work with their cart. What I did was I made a central object, just like in this one, how there's an object, and all the data flowed through that. And what was nice about Shopify is that you could do a request to /cart, and it would give you the entire state of the cart. So instead of modifying locally, instead of like when I clicked on add to cart, instead of adding that and then sending a request and having to sync if like the problem went wrong or something like that, what I did was I clicked add to cart, and it sent a request. And when the response came back from Shopify, I just completely overrode the cart object, which updated the entire DOM in one swoop. So that way I didn't have to do any of the math. I didn't have to calculate anything, because the cart object actually had the total price, all the discount stuff. So when I overwrote the cart object, all of the components that were subscribed to that just re-rendered themselves, and the entire UI, shopping cart drawer, little icons showing the number of products in the cart, it all just reacted based off of 1 object. And that's really what makes stuff like this powerful. I mean, in React, you can do the same thing, but the idea that your UI reacts to the state of your data, and the fact that you don't have to modify the data by hand at all, it just updates itself, is pretty amazing, because you're able to build something like a shopping cart. And granted, you could hook something like you can just toss an API request in here, and you would have the same setup going on, and you could have it live within 20 minutes. Of course, we don't have any styling here, and I might spend some time and go through and add some more styling to make it a little bit nicer. But I feel like that was a pretty quick but pretty good example of why I like Vue and how quick it is to get something that has multiple things that would need to be updated by hand if you weren't using something like Vue. So yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.